You're standing at the register. The cashier pauses for a second, glances at you, then quietly asks if you want to use the 55 plus discount. You smile, wave it off. "Oh, I'm fine, thanks." The line moves. You pay full price. And you walk out feeling, honestly, pretty good about that. I've watched this happen more times than I can count. Not because people are careless with money. Most of the time, the person at that register is someone who spent 30 years building something real. They paid their mortgage on time. They funded their kids' education. They managed their career without burning out. They are careful. But in that one small moment, something else took over. Not logic, not math, something closer to pride. And here's the thing that most financial content won't tell you. That moment is not an accident. Companies have modeled it. They count on it. The fact that you quietly waved off that discount is already baked into someone's revenue forecast. That's what we're talking about today. Not coupon codes, not senior menus. We're talking about what I call the pride tax, the slow, invisible drain that happens when your identity starts costing you money. And more importantly, we're going to talk about where that money should actually go instead. Because the gap between "I don't need a discount" and a fully funded medical safety net is a lot smaller than most people realize. We're talking about a $15,000 difference that sits quietly in your blind spot. Let's get into it. I still remember the week I turned 50. There was a letter in the mailbox, red envelope, the AARP logo in the corner. I remember standing at the end of the driveway, holding it, and I felt this, I don't know how else to describe it, this cold flash, like someone had just filed paperwork on me without asking. I rolled it up and threw it straight in the trash. Didn't even open it. If you've done the same thing, you already know what I'm talking about. And I want you to know you're not alone in that. But I also want to be honest with you about what that feeling actually is. Turning 55 doesn't feel like a physical shift for most people. You don't wake up different. Your energy, your judgment, your earning power, none of that disappears overnight. And that's exactly where the friction starts. Because the financial system draws a line at 55. It says, you now qualify for a different category. And your brain, the part of your brain that spent 30 years associating earning with status, reads that line as a demotion. There was a guy who posted in a comment thread I came across. He was at Taco Bell, just a regular Tuesday lunch. The cashier applied a senior discount automatically. He didn't ask for it. It just showed up on the receipt. He was furious. Said it felt like an insult. Said he left the restaurant feeling invisible. I'm not laughing at that. I understand it completely. But here's what was actually happening in that moment. His brain made a connection. Accepting this discount means I am no longer the version of myself I've spent decades building. The provider, the one who handles things, the one who doesn't need help. That connection is not rational, but it is extremely human. And the people who design pricing systems know it. What you're paying when you waive off that discount isn't really a few dollars. You're paying to maintain a self-image. You're paying a fee to keep feeling like you're still at the top of your game. That's a completely understandable thing to want. But it's one of the most expensive invisible purchases you can make in your 50s and 60s. The trade-off is real. Every month you pass on a benefit that's already yours, you're not protecting your identity. You're just funding someone else's margin. Now, if you've ever quietly tossed that AARP letter or felt that sting at the register, leave a comment below. Seriously, because this comes up constantly, and most people carry it alone like it's something to be embarrassed about. It's not, but it is costing you. And once you see exactly how much and exactly who's benefiting from it, the feeling starts to shift. Let's talk about what's actually happening behind the scenes. T-Mobile has a plan called Magenta 55 Plus. 2 lines, unlimited data, around $60 to $70 a month. If you're on a standard 2-line plan, you're likely paying somewhere between $130 and $150 a month for the same coverage. That's a gap of roughly $70 a month, $840 a year. Now ask yourself, when was the last time a T-Mobile rep called you and said, "Hey, you qualify for a cheaper plan?" They didn't. And that's not an oversight. Go to the website and try to find the 55 plus plan yourself. It's buried. We're talking 4 or 5 clicks deep, tucked behind tabs that don't advertise what they contain. Verizon and AT&T run similar structures. The plans exist. They are real. They are significantly cheaper, and they are deliberately hard to find. This is not a conspiracy. It's margin optimization. It has a name inside these companies, and it works because of one very predictable human behavior. The customer in their late 50s, steady income, never missed a payment, will not ask. They don't want to draw attention to their age. They don't want the conversation. So they stay on the expensive plan indefinitely, and the company never has to lift a finger. Your silence is a revenue line item. The same structure shows up in homeowners insurance, in auto coverage, in certain prescription drug programs. The 55 plus pricing tier exists. It's been calculated. It's been approved by actuaries, and it is sitting there waiting, but it is never going to come find you. Now, I want to reframe something because the word discount is doing a lot of damage here. When you hear senior discount, your brain files it under charity, under need, under something you accept when you've run out of other options. That framing is wrong, and it's worth correcting. You have been a consumer in this country for 30 or more years. You've paid full price through your highest earning decades. You've funded these companies through market downturns, through rate hikes, through every plan change they pushed through. The 55 plus pricing tier is not a handout. It is a loyalty dividend. It is a structural adjustment that reflects the lifetime value you've already delivered as a customer. Calling it a senior discount is their framing, not yours. When you claim it, you are not asking for help. You are collecting what was always factored into the math. So the $840 a year from your phone plan, that's one line. Stack a similar adjustment on your insurance, your prescription coverage, your streaming bundles, and suddenly you're looking at something closer to $1,200 a year in recovered spending. Money that was already leaving your account every month quietly, because the system was built to stay quiet. That's real money. And what you do with it next is what actually matters. Because most people, once they start paying attention to this, make a very specific mistake. They get good at finding the small stuff, the $5 here, the Tuesday discount there, and they feel productive. They feel like they've cracked the code. They haven't. They've just traded one distraction for another. A few years back, I made a video telling people to track every small discount they could find. Write it down. Build the habit. Every dollar counts. I was wrong about that. And I want to say it clearly, because some of you may have watched that video. The advice wasn't bad for a 32-year-old building discipline from scratch, but applied to someone at 60 with a real asset base and a 5 to 10 year runway before retirement, it creates what I'd call the illusion of progress. You feel like you're doing the work. You're just doing the wrong work. Here's the guy from Taco Bell again. After that moment at the register flipped a switch in him, he went all in. Started tracking every Senior Tuesday at Goodwill. Mapped out which IHOP locations still ran the 55 plus breakfast discount. Built a whole system around clipping and stacking. Meanwhile, his 401k was sitting in a target date fund charging 1% in annual fees. On a $400,000 balance, that's $4,000 a year leaving his account silently. Every year. And unlike a phone bill, that cost compounds in reverse. It's not just the $4,000. It's everything that $4,000 would have grown into. His coupon system was generating maybe $300 a year in real savings. He was losing more than 13 times that amount to a single line in his fund's expense ratio. And he felt good about his finances. That's the trap. At 60, your time has a different price tag than it did at 35. You are not building habits anymore. You are allocating finite energy toward the levers that actually move your retirement picture. And most of the small dollar optimization habits that made sense earlier, they don't have the same return at this stage. The levers that matter now are different. Expense ratios on your investment accounts, Medicare and Medigap structuring, property tax exemptions, which more than half of eligible homeowners over 65 never claim. Catch-up contribution rules under Secure 2.0, which lets you put up to $8,000 into an IRA in 2026 if you're 50 or older. Money that grows either tax-deferred or tax-free depending on the account. Run the comparison. Saving $5 a week at a restaurant produces $260 a year. One maxed catch-up IRA contribution invested in an S&P 500 index fund over 10 years at historical average returns produces a difference measured in tens of thousands of dollars. That's not a small gap. That's a different category of decision entirely. The strategic version of you at 60 is not hunting for the senior menu. That person already claimed their phone plan discount in a single 10-minute phone call and moved on. They're spending their attention on the $15,000 medical exposure sitting inside their Medicare plan that they haven't looked at yet. That's where the real money is. And that's exactly where we're going next. If the way we're looking at this is saving you time and energy, hit subscribe. This is the kind of framing I come back to in every video, not what to cut, but where to actually point your focus. Let's talk about the number that ends retirement plans. Fidelity estimates that a single person retiring at 65 today should expect to spend around $165,000 on healthcare costs over the course of their retirement. That's not a worst-case number. That's the average. And it doesn't include long-term care. Most people hear that figure and think, okay, that's what Medicare is for. And this is where the knowledge gap gets expensive. Medicare is not a single thing. When you turn 65, you face a choice between two fundamentally different structures, and the one most people pick, because it's marketed more aggressively, because it often has a $0 premium, because it sounds like the better deal, can leave you exposed to costs that wipe out years of careful saving in a single medical event. Medicare Advantage plans, the ones you see advertised constantly, operate on a network. Doctors, hospitals, specialists, they have to be in network for your costs to stay manageable. When you're healthy, that's usually fine. But if something serious happens, a cancer diagnosis, a cardiac event, a surgery that needs a specialist at a major academic medical center, you may find yourself outside that network. And out of network, the maximum you can be required to pay out of pocket in a single year can run $13,000 to $15,000. That's the cap. That's not what a bad year costs. That's the legal ceiling on what they can ask you to pay, and many serious conditions will hit it. One bad year, one event, $15,000 out of pocket. Now run that against the alternative. Original Medicare paired with a Medigap supplement, specifically Plan G, which is the most comprehensive option available to new enrollees now, covers most of what Medicare leaves exposed. Your out-of-pocket costs in a serious illness scenario drop dramatically. You can see any doctor in the country who accepts Medicare, which is the vast majority of physicians. You are not trapped by a network when you are most vulnerable. The Medigap premium runs somewhere between $100 and $200 a month, depending on your age, your state, and when you enroll. Call it $150. That's $1,800 a year. Now go back to the $1,200 we identified earlier. The loyalty dividend recovered from your phone plan and a couple of other 55-plus adjustments. That doesn't fully cover the Medigap premium, but it gets you most of the way there. The remaining gap is a few $100s a year. That's the trade you're actually being offered. Pay a few $100s more annually, or stay exposed to a $15,000 hit the year your health changes. Most people don't frame it that way. They see the Medigap premium and think, this is an extra cost. What they're not seeing is the $15,000 fragility sitting inside the plan they already have. Path 1, you skip the supplement to save money each month. One serious diagnosis, one out-of-network specialist, one bad year, and you're writing a $15,000 check out of your retirement savings. Your timeline shifts. Your options narrow. Path 2, you redirect the money you recovered from telecom and insurance optimizations, the pride tax you stop paying, toward a Medigap premium. You can see any doctor you need to see, anywhere in the country. You travel without calculating whether the hospital 3 states over is in your network. That's not a luxury. At 65, that's what financial resilience actually looks like. The $1,200 you recovered didn't just save you money. It bought you a different category of security. Let's pull this together. You started this video standing at a register, waving off a discount you'd already earned. That moment felt small. It wasn't. That one habit, repeated across your phone bill, your insurance, your prescription coverage, your investment fees, is the difference between a retirement that holds and one that quietly erodes. Not because of a market crash. Not because you didn't save enough. Because of a series of invisible decisions that felt like self-respect, but were actually just revenue for someone else. The framework is simple. Claim what's already yours. Stop optimizing for pennies when there are thousands sitting in your blind spot. And redirect that recovered money toward the one thing that actually determines your quality of life after 65. A medical safety net that doesn't collapse the first time you really need it. I don't know exactly what the market does next year. I don't know if healthcare policy shifts again before you hit 65. Those things are outside both our control. But I know this with certainty. Turning down your own benefits because of how it feels is the worst investment you can make at this stage. The pride tax is real, it compounds quietly, and it has never once protected anyone's retirement. The action from today is straightforward. Call your carrier tomorrow morning. Ask specifically about the 55-plus plan. That one phone call, 10 minutes of mild awkwardness, is worth $840 a year. That's the hidden menu. It's been there the whole time. Welcome to 55. The perks are better than you were told. If this framing is useful to you, subscribe to Wes Investor. This is the kind of conversation we have here. Not what to cut, but how to think about money at the stage where it actually matters. I'll see you in the next one.